Well, hello one and all, welcome to Seen Through Glass. Welcome to my first adventure of 2022. We are back on the road, people.
I'm so excited.
Today I'm headed down to Austria via Munich for a rather special event on ice. More on that later, because first I need to introduce you to the car I'm taking there. So this is a Porsche 911 Carrera. That's it. It's literally a 911 as the plate suggests. Apart from I think 2, maybe 3 options, this is as base spec a modern 911 as you can get. It's as if you've walked into a Porsche dealership and said, "Hello salesman, I'll have a 911 please." That's what would turn up. This car has very kindly been loaned to me by Porsche UK, who I think are geniuses to have it on their fleet. I cannot wait to see what this car is going to be like. I'm super intrigued. But first off, I've got a train to catch. Now if you're wondering why I'm so excited and intrigued by a base spec entry-level 911 Carrera, it's because Porsche are quite famous for not only offering a lot of options when it comes to their cars, but also charging quite a lot for those options. Usually the base level cars do represent pretty good value in comparison to their rivals, but the minute you choose the wheels you want and the paint you want and then a nice glass sunroof and a good sound system, it all starts to add up. And that's why I like the idea of this car. It's a great way to test just how good this latest generation 911 really is, without all the sort of distractions that a modern car, and especially the 992 generation 911, can sometimes offer. Now today is likely to be the most boring part of this quite short adventure to Austria. I wanted to break up the drive a bit but get as much of it done as possible on day one, so as I mentioned I'm stopping overnight in Munich, but that means I've got about 1,000 kilometers to cover today, around 750 odd miles, but it's pretty much all on the motorway, so yeah, not a lot of excitement. But I can report that so far this car's turning out to be rather lovely. No surprise there. I mean, it's just such a nice place to be, such a nice way to just bash along the motorway. Hopefully tomorrow morning we can get out, do some proper driving, and I can analyse all the pros and cons of this car not having some of the more desirable sort of performance or mechanically focused options. Today I'm kind of continuing to analyse the the livability factors, and I guess therefore the tech options, because whilst this car really doesn't have many, if any, options ticked, the 992 generation 911 does come with some pretty good standard kit. We've got this lovely new inbuilt infotainment system which is very easy to use, very good looking, has Apple CarPlay, has Android Auto, and yeah, it's just, that's a big thumbs up from me. The standard speaker system seems alright, it's around 150 watts I think. I've been listening to Spotify. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's better than alright. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty good. We've got LED headlights as standard, cruise control, heated seats, loads of nice leather, everything feels pretty solid and sturdy. I mean, it's all the kind of stuff you probably would expect from a car that nearly costs £90,000. But yeah, I don't know why I was doubting whether some of these things would be here, so it's been quite reassuring to find that they are. Anyway, it's looking pretty frosty out there, isn't it? Oh my god, it's 0.5 degrees. I had no idea it got so cold. Just kind of been minding myself, just watching the world go by. Yeah, it's now looking like a pretty frosty world, but we're going to be seeing a lot more sort of frosty scenes, I'm thinking. Anyway, 6 hours to go. I know I said today was unlikely to be that exciting, but I had forgotten the last few hours of today's journey will be in Germany, with a few de-restricted sections of the Autobahn. Ha! can see, it's pretty busy out here, and I'm running winter tyres on this 911, so I've got to be a little bit mindful of my speeds. These are the Continental winter contacts. They're probably good up until like 250, 270 kilometers an hour, but yeah, it's cold, it's busy, the light is fading. I don't want to go too crazy, but it's a nice adrenaline rush, I'll give you that. And if the road clears out again, I'll definitely be going for some more high-speed runs, but we're not going to be setting any records today, that's for sure. Didn't realise I'd booked a hotel room with such a seductive bathtub. I feel like I've booked the honeymoon suite by mistake. I mean, I'll take it seems super nice, just feels a bit awkward being in here by myself. This is Inspire Hotel, about 10 kilometres outside of Munich, so I've chosen to stop overnight, and I'm pretty happy with my choice. It seems super nice. End of my drive though, not that nice. The weather turned fairly grim and I'd had to really focus on making it here alive. Anyway, you might be able to hear it in my voice. I'm feeling a bit tired now, so I'm gonna go downstairs, have some dinner, get some sleep in the bed behind me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Well, welcome to one of my favourite parts of Germany. We are just near the Austrian border, about an hour south of Munich, near a lakeside town called Tegernsee. And this place is beautiful, especially when it's covered in snow. Can I say, I think snow is my favourite weather conditions to film in. Everything just looks, well, I'm going to say it, magical. I feel like I'm in Narnia every time I turn the camera on. I'm like, oh yeah, it looks fantastic. And so I've wasted a lot of time this morning just farting around getting shots that I probably didn't actually need, but having a brilliant time and having a lot of fun in this car. Sub 400 horsepower, rear wheel drive Porsche. Oh, it's good out here, people, it's good. Now, I need to stop having quite so much fun and take my job a little bit more seriously and give you a proper journalistic review of this car. Not really my style, but yesterday I did promise I would talk through the pros and cons of the fact that this car doesn't have some of the sort of juicier, driver-focused options that Porsche offer. Now, until last night, I thought that was out of choice. I thought that was kind of the whole thing that Porsche UK have created here, a kind of base-level entry-spec car. But no, I learned that you actually can't option the juicier driver-focused stuff when you're getting the standard 911 Carrera. So things like PASM, Porsche Active Suspension Management, which lowers the ride height by 10mm, the Dynamics package, rear wheel steer, a manual gearbox. All of those options only available to the 911 Carrera S and upwards. Now, at first I was like, what the heck? But then I started to go, well, actually this kind of makes sense. If this car is truly supposed to be a back to basics, entry-level 911, then sure, why do you need all the other stuff? And you know, yesterday and even this morning, I'm finding out that this car is fantastic as a thing. The problem it has is its bigger brother, that 911 Carrera S, because last night when I got to the hotel, I thought, you know what, I'm going to spec up a 911 Carrera and a Carrera S and see what the damage is. I didn't try and, you know, hold back too much. I also didn't try and tick every option on the list, but it ended up with a 911 Carrera that I spec to 99 grand, 11 grand more than this one, and a Carrera S to 114 grand. Now, okay, that's 14 grand different, yes, but you get so much more of a car in the Carrera S. Not only 75 horsepower more, but all those juicy bits that I mentioned, which makes the car just a little bit more dynamic. Now, that's not a problem, I think, if you're driving by yourself and you're perfectly content and happy with what this fantastic car can do. But the minute you kind of want to drive with your mates, or you're even trying to keep up with a Cayman GTS, I think you're going to suddenly find yourself, well, left a little bit short in this car. Whilst it is really good and really nice, at 90 grand as a Porsche 911, I think you want the extra bits. And therefore, to me, the Carrera S seems like the more obvious choice, especially because, well, everyone in the world finances cars these days. And 14 grand on a Carrera S, which is going to have a slightly better residual value, especially with the additional options, because that does make a big difference in the world of Porsche. It's probably going to be 100, 150 quid a month more. Totally worth it. Not to say this car isn't great, I just think it's a little superseded, especially if this is supposed to be the pure driver's example. You can't even get it with the manual gearbox. It's not a mistake by Porsche. They would have studied all the stats and realised that non-GT product 911 owners clearly just all order PDKs. But I think a manual would suddenly make this car make a lot more sense.
How can I help you?
How can you help me? Give me a manual gearbox. She seems confused.
Haben Sie ein Vignette?
Well, welcome to Austria. I literally just crossed the border, hence why I had to stop and get myself a vignette so that I could drive on the roads here. And the reason I've driven all the way down to Austria is for the GP Ice Races ICEolated event. Pun intended. Unfortunately, due to the COVID restrictions here in Austria, GP Ice Race couldn't have members of public attend this year's event, but that wouldn't stop them. So they're trying to sort of do some activity and gather together a very small group of people to kind of, well, firstly celebrate everything that they've achieved so far in, I guess, reinventing the ice race, but also give a bit of a hint and a teaser as to what to expect next year. And now the main kind of gathering is tomorrow, but I have heard that there might be some cheeky Porsche activity going on at the ice track today. So, kind of rushing there to see if I can capture whatever that Porsche activity is before it finishes. We're 2 hours away. Let's see what we can do. Well, you can take the car spotter out of London, but you can't take the car spotter out of me. I've just been driving through Austria towards the, oh yes it is, to the GP Ice Race event, and I've spotted an Ineos Grenadier. Look at this. Must be a test car, still in development, but that is mega. Look at that thing's first time I've seen one like in the flesh on the road anywhere. Oh, lovely. This man has just run from the other side of the airfield. That's some good hosting. You literally just ran about half a mile.
I feel like it as well.
This jacket is fantastic.
Good, right? Look at that.
Oh my god.
Morning car from 94.
Woo!
Servus.
I mean, Okay, that gives you a sense of how ridiculous this event is going to be. Some of you may have recognised Tino just then from a video I did on his Oak Green Metallic GT3 Touring a few years ago. Well, he's a big part of this new version of the GP ice race. I did want to quickly spin around and show you some of the stuff that is lurking, at least in the car park. The Bugatti's doing donuts now. I mean, this is going to be outrageous, but yeah, I've already spied a couple of very interesting and exciting things. Now, this might look like a procession of fairly slow-moving, nicely spec'd Porsches, but that is Walter Roll. Famous, world famous rally driver, Porsche and Audi kind of ambassador, I guess. Maybe he's taking some competition winners or some CEOs or someone out on the rally track. Nice turbo, yes, oh yes, go mad. First time for me also seeing a Cayenne Turbo GT. I mean, as I hinted earlier, big Porsche presence today, but big Porsche presence at this event, full stop. So lots of cars from the factory which can be identified by their plate saying S Go. That always means they're from a Porsche factory. This one clearly on its winter wheels, which looks a little bit odd. But yeah, cool looking thing if you're into your big, hugely expensive, very, very fast SUVs. I've done really well with hotels on this trip. I have to say a huge thanks to the GP Ice Race team, who are the ones who put me up here at the Sea Hotel Bellevue on the Zeelandse Lake. I'm going to draw today to a close for this video, and you'll probably rejoin me in a couple of days' time for the drive back to London in the 911 Carrera. Well, good morning. I've sadly now left Austria behind me. I'm actually already in Germany. Left the hotel around 5:30 this morning, and the weather's been pretty grim, but I'm making good progress. Well, coming up to 10:30 and I've made it to France. I think that's pretty good going, and as you can see, the sun has come out. It's proving to be quite an enjoyable journey because, as I said, this car is turning out, or has turned out to be, fairly fantastic. I have really enjoyed the last few days and this whole adventure with the 911 Carrera. But what it's really made me realise is that the 992 generation 911 is just, it's a fantastic grand tour. It's something I've sort of suspected ever since I really first saw it and first had a go in it. I often said that I feel like this generation 911 is more Bentley than true Porsche sports car. And initially that was kind of me being a bit negative because, well, as a maybe Porsche purist, I wanted a sort of, you know, a proper sports car, not a comfortable cruiser. But then living with one, I'm like, well, no, it makes sense. If you're not in a GT3 or a hardcore Turbo S and you're just in a standard everyday 911, why not make it better, comfier, easy to live with? And that's exactly what they've done. And in this format, rear wheel drive, 385 odd horsepower and that very good PDK gearbox, it's also super easy to have fun in. I mean, out in the snow, this thing was so good. Every single sort of junction I came out of, I was a little bit sideways. It's just, yeah, it's been a fantastic thing. But I guess the key question is, would I buy one? I actually find it a bit of a tough question to answer because compared to its rivals, the Mercedes-AMG GT, dare I say even my beloved F-Type, this entry-level 911 Carrera represents great value. As we've learned, it comes with loads of great standard kit and it's a ton of fun. But I think if it were me, like I said a few days ago, I would stretch and get the Carrera S because you're getting this fantastic car just with added benefits for not that much more money. But one thing this car has really taught me is there are some Porsche options that, you know, dealerships or Porsche people will tell you are must-haves for the future value of the car and to get the true Porsche experience. I think it's all hearsay. For example, sports chrono. I mean, it's very rare to find a new 911 without sports chrono on it. It's such a popular option. But not at one point on this trip have I gone, oh, I'm really missing sports chrono, that little dial like the Manettino on Ferrari on the steering wheel and the little timing clock up on the dashboard. Seem unnecessary. I've got sport mode switch, wet mode switch, stiffer suspension switch. I can still do launch control. So yeah, sports chrono, whatever. Also, the standard speaker system in this car. Genuinely, I know on the way down I was like, oh, it's all right. I've grown to be super impressed by it. I love listening to music in the car. I listen to my music loud and pretty much the whole time. And it's been so good. Only 150 watts, but clarity is spot on. The range of the frequency is fantastic. So whilst Bose and Burmeister, the other two speaker options for a 911, are attractive options, if you're looking to save a bit of money, that could be one area where you can get away with, well, yeah, not choosing the higher spec systems. And then finally, a bit of a niche, weird one, lights. So these are the standard LED headlights. You can get this thing called PDLS or PDLS Plus, Porsche Dynamic Lighting System. It's kind of tech that's been brought down from the Le Mans race cars. It's very impressive, it's very good. But so are these standard lights. I mean, I was in the pitch blackness of a mountain valley in Austria in January. It was dark, and these lights lit up the road in front of me like I had 4 light bars on the roofs. Honestly, so good. So another place that maybe you could save a little cash. It's been a fantastic and really interesting trip with this car, but what it's really proved is just how good the 992 Generation 911 is. That's the fundamental truth. Anyway, still got about 5.5 hours to go to Calais, so I'm going to jump back in, enjoy the sunshine, and crack on.